First Contact, Second Wave, Chapter 1, Jed. The universe had been quiet for so long that it almost felt unnatural. For centuries, humanity had watched the stars, sending signals and wondering if they were truly alone. The first wave of contact had changed everything. Aliens, species from across the galaxy, had come to Earth, some peaceful, others not so much, but none of them expected what was about to unfold. Jed was an ordinary man from Earth. He wasn't a soldier, a politician, or a scientist. He was just a mechanic, working on a quiet colony out on the fringes of human space. But all that changed when the alien warships appeared in orbit. The once untouched quiet of the stars shattered in an instant. The world watched as the alien ships came into view, their sleek, intimidating forms blinding under the light of distant suns. Some believed humanity was doomed. But Jed? He didn't think so. "Get me to the ship," he shouted to his supervisor, who was still frozen in fear. The man's face was pale, lips trembling, but Jed didn't have time for panic. The fate of his world was hanging in the balance, and he wasn't going to sit idly by while others decided humanity's fate. In the colony's dockyard, Jed climbed into one of the few remaining fighter crafts. He wasn't trained for combat, far from it, but he was a quick study. The sleek craft hummed as its systems powered up, and Jed's hands flew over the controls. The cockpit was tight, the view out the front window nothing but the vast expanse of space and the looming presence of the alien armada. His heart pounded in his chest, but Jed had something that no one in that armada could anticipate: the relentless drive to protect his people, his planet, his home. The comms crackled to life, a cold, mechanical voice speaking in an unknown language. Jed didn't understand a word, but he didn't need to. His eyes flicked to the radar as he engaged the engines, and his pulse quickened. He wasn't just defending Earth now. He was defending everything humanity had fought for: his family, his friends, the future. A low rumble vibrated through the cockpit. The alien ships were preparing for something, and Jed couldn't wait to find out. He pushed the throttle forward, rocketing out of the dockyard. His ship darted into the sky like a bullet, cutting through the atmosphere at breakneck speed. For a moment, it felt like the entire world had paused. Then came the first blast. A volley of plasma fire shot past Jed's ship, narrowly missing him. He didn't flinch. Instead, he pulled hard on the controls, banking left, right, dodging and weaving through the firestorm. They didn't know what they were up against. They didn't know humanity. With a deep breath, Jed's hand clenched around the trigger. He didn't hesitate. His weapon systems locked onto a nearby ship, and a pulse of energy shot through the void. The alien vessel shimmered before exploding in a burst of brilliant light, sending debris spiraling into space. The first victory. It wasn't much, but it was a message. Humanity wasn't going down without a fight. First Contact, Second Wave, Chapter 2, Jed. The explosion of the alien ship was only the beginning. Jed's pulse raced as his hands gripped the controls, sweat dripping down his forehead. He had never imagined himself in a position like this, flying in space, defending Earth from an alien invasion. Yet here he was, a mechanic turned accidental hero, and the battle was just beginning. More alien ships were closing in, their formations tight, their weapons systems primed. They didn't expect the human response. They didn't expect the fire in the hearts of the people who lived on Earth, who fought for survival, who would give everything to protect their world. Jed's comms crackled again. This time, it wasn't the alien voice, it was a familiar one. "Jed, you still alive up there?" It was Harper, a fellow mechanic back at the colony. He was one of the few who had been trained on the fighter jets, though even he had never imagined this kind of battle. "I'm still here, Harper," Jed replied, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. "What's the situation down there?" "The whole colony's on lockdown. They're trying to keep civilians safe, but these aliens are advancing. We've got a whole fleet of ships in orbit now, and we're not exactly equipped to fight them off. You're our only hope." Jed could hear the anxiety in Harper's voice, but he also heard something else, something far more important: determination. "I won't let them take it," Jed said, his jaw set. "I'll hold them off as long as I can." "You're not alone, Jed," Harper reassured him. "We're sending reinforcements up. Just keep them busy until we can get our fighters ready." Jed didn't respond right away. He didn't have the time. Another alien ship had locked onto him, and he was already being pursued. With a quick roll to the left, he evaded a blast that would have torn through his hull. His fingers danced across the controls, switching to evasive maneuvers, and he began to line up another shot. Through the swirling chaos of space, Jed's thoughts focused on one thing: Earth. He thought about his family, his friends, the people he had grown up with. He thought about the generations of humans who had come before him, those who had fought against adversity, who had struggled to make a home in a vast, dangerous universe. They were all counting on him now. A loud alarm blared in the cockpit. signaling that an enemy ship was within range. Jed's heart skipped a beat, but this time, he didn't hesitate. His ship locked onto the target, and with a burst of fire, another alien ship disintegrated in a flash of blue energy. "Nice shot," Harper's voice rang in his ear. "Keep it up, Jed, we're almost there." The ground shook as the sounds of explosions rattled through the colony below. Jed knew that it wasn't just the sky that was under threat, it was everything. The fight wasn't just about fighting the invaders. It was about proving humanity's place in the galaxy. They might not have had the advanced technology of these aliens, but they had something that no enemy could take away, their spirit. Another alien ship approached, its sleek design reflecting the cold, starry void of space. It was bigger than the others, its weapons more powerful. Jed could see the energy gathering in its cannons, and he knew this would be a fight to the death. But this was Jed's moment. With a deep breath, he focused, pushed the throttle to maximum, and dove straight toward the alien ship. He didn't know how he'd survive this one, but there was one thing he knew for sure: humanity wasn't going down without making a mark. And Jed was going to make it count. First Contact, Second Wave, Chapter 3, Jed. The massive alien ship loomed ahead, its weapons charging, a terrifying blue glow building in the center of its main cannon. Jed's heart thundered in his chest. He had no backup, no reinforcements yet, and it was clear the alien fleet was testing their resolve. The odds were stacked against him, but something deep inside pushed him forward, and he wasn't about to back down now. "Harper, I need those reinforcements, now," Jed barked into the comms, his voice gruff. He could feel the weight of the moment pressing in on him, but he kept his hands steady, maneuvering his fighter closer to the massive alien ship. "We're en route, Jed, just hang in there, we've got 5 minutes at most, do what you can until then." 5 minutes. It felt like an eternity. The alien ship fired, and a beam of searing light shot toward him. Jed slammed the controls to the left, twisting his fighter through a wild roll, narrowly avoiding the blast. The heat from the explosion still singed the side of his ship. He gritted his teeth. He couldn't keep dodging forever. The alien ship was relentless, its targeting systems nearly flawless. He needed a plan. Jed's eyes flicked to the radar. He could see the smaller alien fighters flanking the larger ship, their movements sharp and coordinated. He had to draw their attention, pull them away from their leader. A risky move, but it was the only one that might work. He tightened his grip on the controls, then shoved the throttle forward. His fighter roared to life, plunging toward the alien ships at breakneck speed. The fighter's sensors screamed in protest, but Jed didn't care. If he was going to go down, it wouldn't be without a fight. "Let's see if I can get your attention, you bastards," he muttered to himself, a grim smile crossing his face as he watched the alien fighters begin to close in. The smaller ships locked onto him, their weapons glowing with energy, and Jed knew it was time. He pulled up sharply, flipping his ship into a high-speed climb that would put him directly above the alien formation. The fighters followed, firing indiscriminately. That's when Jed made his move. He yanked the controls hard to the left, throwing his fighter into a tight loop. The alien fighters, caught in the sudden change of direction, collided with one another in a shower of sparks and debris. Jed barely managed to avoid the wreckage, his heart pounding in his ears. 1 down, 4 to go. His comms buzzed again. "Jed, reinforcements are here." The voice was Harper's, and the relief in his tone was palpable. Looking at the radar, Jed could see a squadron of human fighters streaking into the fray, their ships cutting through the alien forces with deadly precision. The odds were starting to shift, but the larger ship, the true threat, was still out there. Jed locked onto it again, calculating his next move. He couldn't wait for the battle to be won. He had to finish this now. With a deep breath, Jed lined up his fighter with the alien ship's main reactor. He could see the weak point, the shimmering energy source powering the massive vessel. If he could land a direct hit, it would cripple the entire ship. The alien ship fired again, its massive cannon charging up to unleash another devastating blast. Jed shot forward, pushing his fighter into a final, furious dive toward the reactor. Time seemed to slow. The ship's cannon pulsed with energy. The rest of the alien fleet was still in disarray, the humans finally taking control of the sky. Come on, Jed muttered under his breath, willing his ship to move faster. The target was within range, his weapon systems locked onto the reactor. And then, without warning, Jed pulled the trigger. A pulse of energy streaked through the void, slamming into the heart of the alien ship. For a moment, everything went silent. Then, a massive explosion rippled through space. The alien ship's reactor detonated, sending a shockwave that disintegrated the craft in an instant. The other ships, seeing the destruction of their flagship, immediately began retreating, their formations breaking apart as they fled. Jed's ship rocked from the blast, but he held on. barely keeping control. His comms crackled with voices from every direction. Holy shit, Jed, you did it. Impact confirmed. Alien ship destroyed. You're a damn hero. Harper's voice came through loud and clear. We've got them on the run, thanks to you, Jed. We're winning this fight. Jed exhaled sharply, looking at the wreckage of the alien fleet in the distance, but he didn't feel like a hero. He felt something more profound, a sense of duty fulfilled. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. There would be more waves, more challenges to face. But now, humanity knew what it was capable of. And Jed? He was ready for whatever came next. First Contact, Second Wave, Chapter 4, Jed. The void of space had never felt so cold. Jed's fighter drifted among the wreckage of the alien fleet, the silence of space settling in like a heavy weight. The sounds of battle had faded, replaced by the quiet hum of his ship's systems as they powered down. He couldn't let himself relax, not yet, not when the battle was still fresh in his mind, and the knowledge that more was coming weighed on him. Jed, you still with me? Harper's voice came through the comms, steady but with an undercurrent of concern. Yeah, still here, Jed replied, his voice tight. But that was too easy. We took down the flagship, but there's no way they'll just give up. Harper was silent for a moment, then spoke, his voice more serious. You're right, this isn't over. It was a victory, but only a small one. The second wave is coming. We're gonna have to be ready. Jed stared at the wreckage around him. The alien ships, once so imposing, now floated lifeless in space. Their weapons, their technology, everything they had used against humanity, lay in pieces. But Jed knew that was just the beginning of the story. He wasn't naive enough to think this victory would change the trajectory of the war. What's the plan? Jed asked, bringing his focus back to the task at hand. Harper's voice came through again, clearer this time. We need to gather intel, find out where they're regrouping, how they're planning their next move. The next wave will be even stronger than the first, and if we don't act fast, we'll be overwhelmed. You're the closest to their point of origin. I need you to go to the coordinates we've mapped out and see if you can find anything that'll give us an edge. Jed hesitated. The coordinates Harper had given him pointed deep into alien-controlled space, a place humanity had only begun to explore. It was risky, dangerous, but Jed knew there was no turning back now. I'm on it, he said, his resolve hardening. He was more than just a mechanic now. He was humanity's first line of defense. As his ship powered up again, Jed's mind raced. He wasn't sure what he was looking for, but he would find something, anything, a weakness, a vulnerability, or even just a clue. There had to be something that would help humanity win this war. The stars outside the cockpit seemed to blur as Jed engaged the hyperdrive, catapulting his ship through the vast emptiness of space. The coordinates led him toward a dark region of the galaxy, a place that felt almost wrong. The space around him seemed devoid of life, a void where even the stars struggled to shine. It wasn't long before Jed noticed something, off in the distance, a faint glow. It wasn't a star, though, it was something else, a massive structure, half buried in the shadow of a dying planet, floating in space like some twisted sentinel. The alien base. Jed's pulse quickened. He was close now, closer than he'd ever been to the heart of their operation. He began to carefully approach, his ship's sensors pinging as they detected the faintest traces of energy. This was no ordinary station. It was built for war, for conquest, a hub for the aliens' next move. Harper, I've found something, Jed muttered under his breath, his hands moving over the controls as he began to analyze the base. It's big, way bigger than anything we've seen before. Harper's voice crackled through the comms, laced with urgency. Be careful, Jed, if they're rebuilding, they'll be expecting us. You have to get in, gather intel, and get out before they know you're there. Jed nodded, though he knew Harper couldn't see him. He'd have to do this fast, get in, get the information, and leave before the aliens could retaliate. His ship slid into position just outside the base's perimeter. It was massive, hundreds of kilometers long. Its surface covered in alien markings that Jed couldn't decipher. The base was dark, seemingly dormant, but Jed knew better than to trust appearances. These aliens were cunning, they wouldn't make the same mistake twice. As he prepared to enter the station, Jed's ship shook violently. He looked up to see dozens of alien fighters emerging from hidden bays in the station, their weapons locking onto him instantly. Damn it, Jed muttered under his breath, they were waiting for me. Before he could react, a hail of plasma fire erupted from the alien fighters, blasting through the vacuum of space. Jed twisted his fighter into a roll, narrowly avoiding a direct hit. His heart was pounding, but his hands remained steady as he fought to stay one step ahead of the enemy. This was no longer just a recon mission, it was a fight for survival. Harper, I need backup now, Jed shouted into the comms, but there was no reply. he was on his own. The alien fighters swarmed around him, their coordinated movements almost surgical. Jed fought back, dodging their attacks while unleashing everything his ship had in retaliation. His weapons systems fired in rapid succession, taking down one fighter after another, but for every alien ship that exploded in a fiery burst, two more seemed to take its place. Jed's mind raced as he considered his options. He couldn't keep this up forever. The station had to have a weakness, a vulnerable point. If he could just get close enough to their central command, maybe he could hack into their systems and retrieve the intel he needed. With a sharp turn, Jed cut through the swarm, making a run for the station's main docking bay. His ship's shields flared under the assault, but he held steady, knowing that if he didn't get inside, he was as good as dead. The docking bay loomed ahead, its entrance large enough to accommodate his ship. Jed punched the throttle forward, throwing himself into a high-speed dive. Just as the alien fighters closed in on him, the bay doors opened, and with a final burst of speed, Jed's ship slipped inside the station. For a moment, everything went quiet. But Jed knew this was only the calm before the storm. The real fight was just beginning.